Welcome, Leena. The
Thank
stage is
you,
yours.
Hannah. Thank you so much. Thank you to this community for having me, inviting me, and thank you to all of you for being here. We have so many people from every continent, which is so wonderful that we can come together and bring, just break down barriers and break down borders in this way. It's incredible. So thank you for joining us today. So I want to talk about how we can raise our innovation IQ, why it's important, why it's relevant for you today, and what it's going to take for us to grow as a leader, for us to grow our team, whatever capacity you're in. I know from some of you, we've got a range of people here. Some of you are coaches and consultants. We've got a lot of project managers here, people from in various capacities in the workforce. So a real range of people here, and whatever role you play in the workplace and however you're contributing, this last 12 months has really taught every single one of us that we need to be so mindful, so present with how we're showing up, how we're delivering value to our customers, to our clients, to our colleagues. Because our primary goal has really been for a lot of companies, for a lot of businesses to, number one, stay afloat. Really, a lot of our businesses have been disrupted in various ways. And so we're looking to really just keep the lights on, keep operations going at a baseline. For all of us, we're looking now to see, to determine how we're going to stay relevant going forward, because I've seen a lot of companies where suddenly the market is not responding in the way that they expected. We're seeing that new opportunities have opened up. That there's new spaces that have evolved in the last month, because the way that we're responding to technology, the lockdown, and so on. So a lot of changes that we're experiencing, and this is our time to really dive in and get granular about how we can, as individuals, make more of an impact. So I want you to think, as we kick off this session, I want you to think about what your differentiator is. You as an individual, as a leader, how are you separating yourself? What value are you adding to the marketplace that nobody else is adding? And then I also want you to think about it from a company level, the organization you work for. How's your company, your organization, or your own business? If you're a business owner, how are you differentiating yourself in the marketplace? Because this is really going to be the key to standing out right now. And file that away. Think about it as I'm sharing with you over the next little while, because it's going to become really super relevant. It's really going to be the key to your kingdom right now. Okay, so I want you to think about uh, all of this to say is, we're looking for ways that we can not only just stay afloat, not only stay relevant, but actually to hopefully be ahead, to really look at everything in the marketplace and say, well, great, there's all this disruption, but there's opportunity that's come out of all of this, which is just wonderful. So how can we take advantage of this opportunity? And I want to give you a visual right now as we kick off. I want you to think about an iceberg. Right? Think about the Titanic, if that's your connection to an iceberg. Think about a big iceberg in the ocean. And if you think about that, when we think about the iceberg, we really think about the ice that we see obviously above the ocean, but really that's just 20% of the iceberg. The mass of the iceberg, 80% of that is beneath the ocean, and we can't see it. So what we can see that's above the ocean are all the knowledge we have, all the skills that we have. And we as individuals and as companies, we tend to do what is sustainable. We tend to do what we know because it's comfortable, it's safe, it's predictable. We're getting certain kinds of results, so we keep doing that. So we tend to do what's sustainable versus what's disruptive. But if you think about what's below the ocean surface, the 80%, these are all the missed opportunities that are available because of the changing environment. They're all the areas, the skill sets, the opportunities that we're missing. Right? So when I talk about raising your innovation IQ. And some of you are probably wondering, what is that? What does it mean? What is innovation IQ? I'm talking about developing yourself in areas that we aren't traditionally thinking about opening up ourselves. I want you to think about, when in the education world, as an example, we were taught IQ is a good thing. We were taught education smarts is a good thing. And I don't think that's as relevant today as it was perhaps, for our parents' generation or their parents' generation. We're living in such a world where everything is changing so much that we need to now not be thinking about our IQ, our EQ. That's also just been a popular term as well. Like, we really need to be more emotionally connected and intelligent in the way that we're engaging and interacting with each other. But we need a new level of IQ. And that's what I call innovation IQ. And the reason we need innovation IQ is because in this environment, the skills, the education that we had is not the thing that's going to take us forward into the future. What we need to stay relevant is going to be our ability to be better creative problem solvers. We need to be able to think differently in order to be able to address the challenges that we're going to be faced with. And if you think about all the technology that we're embracing right now, all the automation that's happening, we're not humans. We as human beings are not meant to be doing the work that robots do. We're meant to be tackling problems, tackling real world solutions, and we can only do that with this, with our mind, with the way that we think. Computers can't do that. They can't do that work for us. So that's going to be our advantage in the future. So that's really the premise of being able to raise our innovation IQ, is to be better problem solvers and add value in this world. Okay, and our danger, I think, is that, or the mistakes that we make, is that we get really complacent as human beings and as individuals. We think there's lots of time, and COVID has shown us that there is no time. We need to move now if we're going to stay relevant. If we're going to, keep the lights on, keep operations running, keep food on the table, we need to be moving with the times. We need to move with speed and agility. We can't be repeating the thing that we did yesterday, because frankly that no longer will work for us going forward. And we need to be no longer preserving the status quo. We really need to be looking ahead at what's coming, what's around the future, what's ahead, what's beyond the curve. Okay, so these are all the things that we need to be working on. And what I want to share with you today is a 3-in-1 strategy. I promised that I would give you a strategy to help you to grow as a leader, to grow your team's capabilities, and to also grow your sales. So this is a 3-in-1 strategy, and I'm going to share it by sharing my story. And hopefully in hearing my story, it's going to help you to tap into your story and actually all the opportunities that you have in front of you that you may have missed. So just to kind of give you some background, so my entrepreneurial journey started at the age of 4 years old. My first mentor was my grandfather at the age of 4, and he was a direct disciple of Gandhi. He was mentored by him from the age of 16. Gandhi came to speak at his school, and he was so inspired by his message, he just decided that was going to be his path and his mission in life. And he followed him for the next 16 years. He was part of that journey, taking India to independence. So that was my upbringing. So I was rooted in yoga and mindfulness and meditation. I learned, what it takes to lead people towards change, to move them in a new direction, do it with non-violence, to stand up for what I believe in, and enroll people and take them on a journey with me. At the age of 16, I became a Buddhist, and I actually became a young women's leader in an international lay Buddhist organization. And part of that responsibility for me was guiding young people, young women, on their personal and professional career journey. Did a lot of mentoring at that age. I studied psychology in college, and I love that. I think I would have, gone into private practice at one point if I wasn't doing what I'm doing now. But I really love to understand how the human mind works. And I also love the statistics and data analysis part of psychology as well. But my big passion, my big dream was the arts. I was a professional dancer, so I trained uh, um, from a very early age, and I was a professional dancer for many years, a soloist with one of the UK's leading dance companies. And for those of you that are maybe old enough, I'm showing my age now, but I opened for Annie Lennox and Dave Stewart with the Eurythmics. For those of you that remember them in the 90s, and had a wonderful time touring the world. When I retired from that space, I was artistic director of my own company. When I retired from that space, I transitioned into coaching and started working, and this is sort of when I moved to North America, to Canada and the US, and I started working with companies like Cirque du Soleil. I worked with various shows, Celine Dion, Wayne Brady, Jamie King. So people in music and arts and entertainment and film, really just bringing them to high performance, you know, acting as a coach and a strategist for them. And there's a time at this point in my career where I started to get kind of a little bit itchy. I felt like I wanted to make a bigger impact in the world, to reach more people. And so I segued into serving a corporate audience, people, companies and businesses in finance and healthcare and technology and e-commerce and retail and so on, and started, sharing the strategies that I was teaching in this market, in this space. So here's where it gets really interesting. What I did at that time was that I actually didn't share my background. I didn't share what I had done until that point in the world of arts, as a coach, as a consultant in that space, as an artist in that space, because I didn't think it was relevant to corporate. And I guess I shut a part of myself down. And there was a time when I spotted a gap, and this was sort of around the time when millennials were entering the workforce and corporations were going, throwing their hands up in the air and said, I don't know what to do with them. I don't know how to connect with them. I don't know how to relate to them. They have a totally different worldview. And I saw an opportunity at that point in the marketplace to train these young people in a way to prepare them for leadership, by connecting them with a world that they knew. The world of gaming, the world of learning through play, learning through technology, learning through videos, learning through simulations. And so I developed a training methodology called Gamulation, and I've done a TEDx talk about that, so you're welcome, or TED talk about that, so that you're welcome to take a look at that. But the idea was, this methodology really just sort of disrupted the training space, and brought a fresh perspective to the training world. And a lot of companies at that point started to ask me, well, how did you do that? How did you develop that? Can you develop a Gamulation or a training for our organization? Can you share your process with us? And that was when I really started to fall into my sweet spot. Because I was bringing, what I realized was that in order to serve these companies, I was bringing all of my background, all of my experience to the table. And everything that I did became highly, highly relevant. So, when I think about my psychology background and that training, it allowed me to really help companies to capitalize on their talent, to leverage their workforce, to build connection and communication. When I think about my research and statistics background, that's now allowed me to develop a research and data arm to my business, where we now collect data and do the research for companies that are looking to understand the market a little better, so they can make really good decisions. When I think about my mentorship and being the experience I had growing up with my grandfather, how that allowed me to. It made me care deeply about the world that we live in and how we show up and the impact we make. And now, as I work with corporations, I'm not only looking to help them grow in revenue, grow their sales, I'm looking at how they can leverage what they do so that they can make more of an impact. And in corporate speak, that's corporate social responsibility. How can you use your technology, your skills, or your solutions, everything that you have to somehow make the world a better place. And so it's really been exciting for me to be able to tie our innovation with corporate social responsibility to with optimizing talent in the workforce, and helping companies develop their diversity and inclusion initiatives. Right. So I share all of this to say to you that what I've seen a lot in my career is that as we evolve in the workplace, we put ourselves into little buckets, in little boxes. We've had a marketing degree or marketing experience, so we call ourselves marketers. We've had sales training, and now we're salespeople, or project managers, and we understand how to manage projects, and that's our training, and we identify ourselves in that way. And I think that's super limiting right now. And I think our big goal is now to not hide who we are, but actually to draw upon our background, our experiences, the things that we've done that we have deep expertise in, and bring that to the table and see how we can start to connect the dots. Right? Start to bring together, like I did, to bring together mindfulness and psychology and innovation and creativity and corporate social responsibility, and find this beautiful sweet spot that becomes our differentiator in the marketplace. So I'm going to challenge you to do the same, number one, I want you to connect the dots. Look at all your different levels of expertise and start to connect the dots. And then number two, I want you to think about how do you make that, integrate those skills into a top 1% skill set. So now you're different from everybody else in the marketplace. Huge, huge game changer. All right, you can use those insights now to develop new products in the marketplace, to tap into a new industry, to open up to a new market that you haven't considered before. And I'm going to give you a quick example of, people, maybe someone we're all familiar. Let's take Steve Jobs as an example, because we all know Apple and we all know Steve Jobs. If you think about his background, he studied calligraphy in college. He was a Buddhist, so the calligraphy opened up, the idea to have these beautiful fonts that he created for Apple. The Buddhist background created a desire for Zen and simplicity, which reflected in Apple's products that we use today. His background in technology, the fact that he was an incredible marketer and a fantastic speaker made his presentations really wow the world, wow the audience. So he was able to bring together marketing, technology, and calligraphy, and Buddhism, and all of these skills to create something and really disrupt the marketplace. He changed the game for technology, for music, for so many other industries. Okay, so just one example there. I want you to think about how you can do that for yourself. So with that, I want to pause here for a moment. I want to stop and take some questions. If you have any questions about what I shared, the strategy that I shared, and I want to kind of give you a little premise. The strategy is in my book. It's called Polish. The strategy is called Polish Your Inner Polymath, and it's in my book, Raise Your Innovation IQ. So if you're interested in learning more about it, we've got a ton of action steps that tell you how to just develop this a little bit further in this book. So I just want to point you to that resource, and I want you to introduce you to the word polymath. The word polymath simply means having deep expertise in a lot of different areas and then integrating them into this top 1% skill set. Okay, so that's what I want you to do. Polish your inner polymath. So with that, I'm going to open up to Q&A and take your questions about what I've shared, and we'll have a conversation.